Buenas tardes. En nombre de la Fundación Princesa de Asturias les damos la bienvenida a esta rueda de prensa con el señor Shigeru Ban, Premio Princesa de Asturias de la Concordia. Antes de dar paso al turno de preguntas, el señor Ban les va a dirigir unas palabras. Como siempre, si desean formular alguna pregunta, deben levantar la mano. Se les pasará el micrófono y a continuación indiquen, por favor, su nombre y el medio para el que trabajan. Señor Ban.
Yes. Thank you very much for coming to talk with me. This is really wonderful opportunity and my pleasure to receive this award. Especially, I knew it. It's very unusual as an architect to receive the award of the Concord. There's a few great architects received the art award, but not this art award I'm receiving Concord. This is really my pleasure because of my activities working in disaster area as an architect for like 27 years. So finally I was really happy to, seems like I was recognized for these activities. So this is such an honor to receive this award.
Muchas gracias por sus palabras. Comenzamos con el turno de preguntas. Sí.
Buenas tardes, enhorabuena por el premio. Lo primero, Eduardo Lagarde, del periódico La Nueva España. Usted acaba de decir que es inusual que un arquitecto reciba el premio de la Concordia. ¿Eso quiere decir que su profesión, la arquitectura, está demasiado inclinada a los ricos, a hacer casas para ricos?
Well, I think this is a very important question, and also I mentioned. Normally, even historically speaking, I must say we as architects working for privileged people who has the power and money. Because power and money is invisible, they hire us to make a monument, to show off their power to the society. That was our job. But I was quite disappointed my own profession because just working for privilege, I recognize I'm not working for society. So as an architect, I wanted to use my knowledge and experience not only for privilege, but also people who lost their houses by natural disaster. For example, earthquake never kill people, but the collapse of building kill people. That's our responsibility as architects. But normally we are looking for new project. When city are rebuilt after disaster, there is a new project coming for us. But I recognize there is so many people suffering with very poor living in temporary shelter, temporary houses. So I thought that's our responsibility to even improve that kind of situation before city are rebuilt. So that is why I started doing like this as architects. Is that answering your question? More or less.
Siguiente pregunta.
Buenas tardes, Pablo Álvarez de La Nueva España. En este trabajo de 27 años, ¿cuál es el escenario más devastador y más desolador que recuerda usted, en el que recuerda haber trabajado? Gracias.
Well, it's very difficult to compare which is more difficult. Obviously, when I went to first time the refugee camp in Rwanda, that was really terrible situation. People suffering with very poor tent. And even in rainy seasons, they couldn't keep them warm. They were freezing with a blanket. That was a terrible situation. But also, I must say, one in Japan, 2011, in Tohoku and Fukushima. That's the complex of the disaster. Earthquake, tsunami, and a nuclear problem. Also, Japan, I must say, it's rather, we are good enough to recover, and we used to recover from the natural disasters. There are so many, but this time it's really complex. The earthquake, tsunami, nuclear problem, and this problem has not yet solved yet, especially the nuclear problem. So as I said, it's too difficult to compare which is more difficult, which is more terrible. But the one in Japan, because of this complex disaster, it's very difficult. But now also recently I've been visiting Poland and Ukraine, and seeing the people, refugees, without the husband or the father. It was very sad to see those refugees not coming with the whole family. So as I said, it's too difficult to compare which is the more difficult one. Each one has a different difficulties.
Siguiente pregunta.
Hola, buenas, bienvenido. Soy Cristina de Televisión Española y quería preguntarle, porque como decía, es complicado que un arquitecto reciba este premio a la concordia, pero al final también lo que se destaca aquí es esa parte humana, esa parte que usted describía al principio de la intervención, en la que tiene que empatizar y ver familias que realmente lo están pasando francamente mal. ¿Cómo es de complicado entender que tienes esa prisa para que esa familia pueda volver a la normalidad, pero su trabajo requiere de unos tiempos que sin ellos no sería posible crear unas infraestructuras que funcionasen adecuadamente?
Because my organization is very small, I don't think I can bring the people back to the home. What I can do is very small things. The government and the UN organization has to take care of the mass of the people. But what I can do is small thing. I look for minority group of people who has particular problem which can be not solved by the big organization like government or UN organization. Because what I can do is small, but I can do something the big organization cannot do, because I go there by myself to look for their particular problem to solve. But I'm not. I shouldn't say I'm not solving. I'm just supporting, only for the living conditions. So I'm not really solving any problem, and I cannot bring back to home. I have very limited agenda and the power.
María.
¿Qué tal? María Follo, de la agencia EFE. Un poco, bueno, en el sentido de la pregunta de mi compañera, ONGs como la suya dan respuesta a emergencias humanitarias pues, con inmediatez, ¿no? No sé qué le parece que lleguen mucho más rápido que la respuesta de los propios gobiernos, aunque, como usted dice, sea, bueno, pues desde un ámbito mucho más pequeño.
Always after the disaster, the speed is most important. So when I speak with the authorities, they need the time to discuss and decide. But in my case, I just decide by myself to go there by myself without talking with anyone. So that's why I can do the more immediate reaction, because I go there by myself. So I recognize after disaster always, even architects talk with many other people to discuss then the action becomes very slow and too late. So what I do is I go there by myself, then meet the local people to find out what is their problem, and also look for the local partners. So that's why I can do something very quickly, because I do by myself.
Próxima pregunta. La Nueva España.
Le hago otra pregunta. ¿Cree que su profesión o hay un sector de su profesión que ha olvidado que los edificios son para que los usen las personas? Le digo porque a veces hay arquitectos que lo que construyen es su propio ego. ¿Qué opina usted de ese tipo de arquitectura, de arquitectos estrella?
I must say also I like to make some monument too. Each architect has their own characteristic and the goal. And also, as I said, I'm not only working in disaster, I also design the museum, I make a big house for the rich people. But I've tried to make a balance of working for privilege, but also for people who are suffering. So I have no the criticism to the people who make the big monument, because I also do the monument.
Siguiente pregunta, Pablo.
Usted está acostumbrado a llegar a sitios en los que hay gente sin vivienda, sin hogar, y a ponerles, digamos, lo imprescindible para que vuelvan a tener al menos una vivienda provisional. ¿Qué es lo imprescindible para tener una casa? ¿Cuáles son los elementos a partir de los cuales una persona dice, tengo una casa?
It's not only for the temporary shelter. For me, architecture is a roof for any country and any climate. Then you can add appropriate wall or appropriate partition, screen, whatever. The architecture is based on the roof. So for me, even the museum or temporary housing, I have to make a good roof. Then I can make appropriate walls, screens, but also this can be improved very easily after people moved in. First thing I have to make is a roof. That is architecture for me.
Siguiente pregunta para el señor Ban. La Nueva España sigue solicitando el turno de pregunta. Yo se la concedo encantada. Pues sí.
Le hago una tercera pregunta. ¿Cómo es su casa?
My house is the apartment I designed, and I'm living there more than 25 years, and very small apartment, but very comfortable because I designed by myself, and it's surrounded by trees, because this was built in the forest without cutting any trees. So the space for living is in between trees. So it's small, but it's very comfortable.
Sí, Javier Ors.
Sí, hola, buenas tardes. Javier, del diario La Razón. Tenía dos preguntas. La primera es, debido a la crisis de los materiales primarios, ¿cómo va a repercutir eso en la arquitectura? Y la segunda es, debido a que la arquitectura también es una de las prácticas que pueden contaminar bastante las zonas o las ciudades, y debido a que hay un cambio climático, ¿hacia dónde debe evolucionar la arquitectura? Muchísimas gracias.
The first question, I'm not sure enough about raw material. I'm very interested in using any material available locally. Even the plastic beer crates for the foundation, and bamboo, paper tube is one I use quite often because this paper tube is available anywhere in the world almost. Even when I was working in Rwanda, capital city called Kigali, even I found the paper tube manufacturer there. So because I often use paper tube because this material is available most of the country and it's very lightweight. When we build a house with a student, this lightweight material is very helpful to be built by non-skilled people. But also, as I said, anything available locally. Even when I was working in Ecuador, I work with local people using woven bamboo because this was normally used for many the situation locally. So using raw material is the one to build something locally available, inexpensively. And the second question about it's such a difficult question to answer that for future architecture. But for me, the architecture is so conservative and it doesn't. For example, the comfortable space for you don't change even future. For me, what makes the space comfortable is natural light and natural breathing, ventilation, also shadow. The three things. So and also the in between space between inside outside. So that is the space people feel very comfortable, and it doesn't change for future. And I also believe that the develop of the technology doesn't make architecture better. When many hundred years ago, when we didn't have such a technology like computer, architecture was better. The advance of technology doesn't make architecture better or more comfortable. It's just the save the time for designing and building, and architecture in the future, anybody can design and build. But that is not better architecture, good architecture. In order to make a good architecture in space, we have to spend more time designing, more time for building. So that is why I don't believe that the future architecture won't change. Even with the technology, doesn't make architecture better.
Sí. Siguiente pregunta, Arturo.
Buenas tardes. El año pasado, en esta categoría, quien obtuvo el premio fue José Andrés, que realiza un trabajo similar en otro ámbito al que usted realiza. ¿Se imagina colaborar con él? ¿Es fácil trabajar con otras organizaciones similares a la suya en lugares como los que usted va? Gracias.
This is really what I'm trying to do. When I was working in Kumamoto City, it's south of Japan, after the big flooding, 2016, people just given only cold bento box, which is a lunch box, for lunch and dinner, nothing hot. And I asked my friend, very famous chef, to help me to cook something with local people, with local material. But authorities stopped us. They didn't want us to provide something hot. It's terrible. They don't want to accept any exception. They just want to provide the same bento box to everyone. But I think the food is very, very important after the disaster. People are really looking for. So I really hope to have a good collaboration with the chef.
Tenemos tiempo para una última pregunta.
Una última pregunta, una curiosidad casi. Usted va a lugares, ayuda a la gente donde han ocurrido catástrofes, pero me gustaría saber, ya que ha viajado por todo el mundo, ¿qué opina de las ciudades del primer mundo? ¿Qué opina de las grandes metrópolis que hay en Occidente? Y si las considera humanas, no las considera humanas, ¿qué les falta a ellas para que toda esta arquitectura, todo este urbanismo se acople un poco más a nuestra propia naturaleza? O si las ve bien, pero en cambio considera que son, tal como están, son perfectas, no sé.
Are you talking about the urban situation in the developed country. I shouldn't say we are lucky to have a pandemic, but as you know that the big COVID situation, we recognize that we don't need to work in the big city. We can work and we can live anywhere. So I think that unfortunately this terrible pandemic showed us the future actually. That we don't have to create such a big city, but the developers want to make high-rise building in order to show their egos as a symbol. But it's not about the future. We can live anywhere. We should work anywhere. And maybe I said that there is no future architecture, but the future living style was found because of this unfortunate pandemic.